Hey guys, here's a lesson about how to use the warp tools in Illustrator. It's really powerful. Um, if you're trying to create certain types of images, uh, maybe you created some shapes and then you're looking for a way to make them look more dynamic. For example, here's a picture of a bunch of triangles that look a little bit distorted. It looks kind of wavy and twisted. It's really easy to create a bunch of triangles, but how would you actually twist it up like this? And you might be creating a lot of shapes, different types of artwork in Illustrator, and then you need to make it look a little more dynamic. Let me show you how. I'm going to start by just using the black selection tool, and I drag a box around all 9 of these triangles. Then I'm going to go to the Effect menu, and in the Illustrator Effects section, there's a submenu called Warp with a lot of different options in here. Guys, don't worry about which one you pick. Okay, watch. I'm really gonna use Wave, but let me open up Arc first. Once you open up the Warp Options window, you have another opportunity to switch to a different type of warp tool. You can switch effects after the window's already open, so don't even be concerned about making sure you pick the correct effect right from the start, because you'll get a chance to change your mind if you need to. I'm going to check preview, and then all of a sudden all you have to do is just adjust these sliders and you'll see that these triangles are getting warped. Okay, now there's a huge difference between warping the group and warping individual triangles. For example, I'm just going to create a bunch of duplicate triangles over here, and I'll change the color. Okay, I'm going to apply a warp to the red triangles. Go to the Effect menu, Warp submenu, doesn't matter which one you pick. Once the window's open, I'm going to check Preview, and then I'm going to switch to Wave. Okay, that's what it looks like. Now, for these yellow triangles, I'm going to use the Pathfinder tool and unite them all together. What that does is it creates a group in the Layers tab. Now that I've got the whole group selected, I'm going to reapply the same exact wave warp, but check it out. Look at the difference in warping the whole group versus warping individual triangles. There's a big difference. So sometimes you may want to warp a group. Okay, so that was the lesson on how to do a warp. I'm going to open up another file and show how to create a pattern in Illustrator. Okay, I created this pattern here, and you guys have seen a bunch of maybe designer handbags and stuff. Okay, I'm just going to bring in a bunch of these images. Okay, look at some of these designer handbags. Look at the patterns here. A lot of these handbags have interesting patterns. Okay, you guys have seen them before. A bunch of different logos like so. Well, what if you're gonna design a pattern of a bunch of different logos in Illustrator? Well, you don't want to have to place them all on your object. I'm going to show you guys how to make a pattern. I created a pattern myself out of the letters ESC, stands for escape. I'm going to use the black selection tool and just select everything. Inside my Layers tab, I'm making sure that I hide this whole entire white background, because that shouldn't be part of the selection, because I'm not really trying to create a pattern with this white background. So look at how I just turned the eyeball off. Oops. Okay, look at how I just turned the eyeball off of this clipping path, and that was the white background. Now the only thing I have selected are the red lines. That's what's important. Go to the Object menu, Pattern submenu, choose Make. Instantly, Illustrator pops you into this preview mode, showing you what it looks like if everything was repeated. It doesn't look that good because there's a gap in between these repeated sections, and I'm going to highlight the width and use my arrow keys. Guys, just like InDesign step and repeat, you can use the arrow keys to go up or down and adjust that gap. Okay, so I'm adjusting the width with up or down, and I think that looks pretty good. I'm trying to hide the seam here. Then I'm going to highlight the height distance, and of course up and down will adjust that vertical gap. Okay, let me try to minimize this gap to create a seamless repeating texture. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Now it's obvious that it's a repeating texture, but the gap is gone, and I think this makes it look a little more aesthetically pleasing as a tileable texture. Okay, when you're done, the reason why I made this texture out of the letters ESC is to remind you that hitting escape is a way to tell Illustrator that you're done with this process, that you are happy with the distancing. Okay, you could easily click done in the upper left-hand corner where my mouse is hovered, but it's unintuitive because escape usually means to cancel things. But in this case, when you hit escape, it actually confirms that you're finished with everything, and it turns this into a pattern. Check it out. I'm going to hit escape, and it kind of looks like Illustrator canceled things. But if you look in my swatches, I see a little preview of this new pattern that I created, and it's also in the upper left-hand corner here. So what does that mean? Well, if I just make a shape, okay, it's instantly getting filled with red. I'm making a heart here. If I make a shape and I choose to fill it with that pattern, I just have to use my drop-down menu here and choose the right pattern. It'll fill it with that pattern now. And you can use that pattern on any kind of shape. You can even use it on a stroke fill. If you want to change the shape a little bit, that pattern will, that pattern will fill the shape no matter how you change it. Okay, really, really powerful tool, because creating your own types of patterns is a way to generate different types of textures from logos and other shapes that you create, and patterns are a big part of that whole process. Ella asked a really good question during today's lecture about changing the color. You can't really manipulate any color choices in the traditional areas that we go to, but if you go to edit colors, there's a submenu called edit colors, and just choose recolor artwork. There is a hue slider over here next to the letter H, and as you can see, I can adjust the hue, the saturation, and the brightness, and I can change from red to a different color here. All right, so there's two exercises using the warp menu in Illustrator, and then also how to create patterns. You don't necessarily use these together, but you can. There was another lesson that we did, which is how to round corners, but since I'm using an older version of After Effects, I can't do it the quick way. But inside the document section of Blackboard, I've attached a link to a YouTube video that shows you how to round corners with Creative Cloud 2020. All right, practice this and let me know if you guys have any questions.